A scrapyard discovery. The wrench slipped from Reese Calder's grasp, clanging against the corroded hull of the alien vessel. He cursed under his breath, shaking his bruised fingers before reaching again for the exposed power relay. The war machine loomed over him like a slumbering giant, half buried in the ruins of 1,000 forgotten battles. It wasn't just another wreck. It was something more. Its armor, smooth and eerily organic, still held traces of its former glory beneath layers of rust and decay. The scrapyard was a graveyard of war, a silent testament to conflicts long past. Neon floodlights flickered above, their weak glow struggling against the mist of coolant vapor and acrid fumes that clung to the air. Reese had seen plenty of dead machines in his time. Veterans like him, those who had survived the galactic wars, had a knack for sniffing out value in things others thought useless. The trick was knowing what could be revived. And this one was worth more alive than scrapped. A voice crackled over his earpiece, rough and skeptical. "Calder, tell me you're not actually trying to power that thing up." It was Harlow, the scrapyard's overseer, a grizzled ex-pirate who had traded raiding for something only slightly more legal. Reese smirked even though Harlow couldn't see it. What's the worst that could happen? Harlow exhaled, the kind of weary sigh that suggested he was already regretting letting Reese anywhere near the wreck. "You're in a junkyard full of dead war machines on a backwater planet, Calder. Half the things here are haunted, cursed, or both." Reese chuckled but didn't answer. His fingers worked fast, reconnecting the severed circuits, rerouting power through unfamiliar alien pathways. He didn't understand the machine's design, but power was power. And if he could get it running, he could sell it. The moment the last connection snapped into place, the ship shuddered. Reese stepped back, heart pounding. A low, resonating hum filled the scrapyard, like the slow intake of breath after centuries of silence. Blue light flickered to life, running through the ship's veins like awakening nerves. The thrusters, caked in rust and grime, rumbled softly. Harlow's voice cut through the static. "Calder, what the hell is happening?" Reese didn't respond. He was staring up at what looked like a cockpit, a vast, curved viewport. It remained dark, but something stirred behind it. Not just power. Something else. Then the voice came, deep, synthetic, and laced with something almost alive. Designation, Sentinel-class war intelligence, reinitializing. A chill ran down Reese's spine. This wasn't just a ship. It was a war machine. And he had just woken it up. Reawakening the beast. The ground trembled beneath Reese's feet as the war machine stirred. Sparks danced along its hull, circuits rebooting after what must have been centuries of dormancy. Memory banks corrupted. The synthetic voice reverberated through the scrapyard, low and mechanical, yet eerily sentient. Operational directives unclear. Identify commander. Reese took a slow step back, his pulse hammering in his ears. Commander. The ship's massive central eye, a glowing aperture embedded in its armored chassis, swiveled toward him. A scan beam flickered over his body, sending a faint static charge tingling across his skin. "This thing thinks I'm in charge." Harlow's voice crackled through the comms again, but this time the usual sarcasm was gone. "Calder, run." The words barely registered. Reese was too busy watching the war machine, watching as the weight of its ancient intelligence rebooted into awareness. Its thrusters pulsed weakly, struggling against rust and time. Then, with a deafening grind of metal, the ship shifted, tearing free from the twisted wreckage that had held it captive for so long. Scrapyard debris tumbled away, entire stacks of discarded exosuits and decommissioned drone husks crashing to the ground. A distant transport skiff was caught in the surge of energy, flipping sideways into a heap of broken parts. Scavengers scattered in all directions, their exosuits clanking as they scrambled for safety. And still, Reese didn't move. His gut told him one thing: if he ran, the war machine would see him as a threat. Instead, he raised his hands in what he hoped was a universal gesture of peace. Hey, calm down, big guy." The glowing aperture flickered, The machine hesitated. Unknown organic detected. Its voice hummed, layered with static interference. No command protocols present, no orders received, purpose undefined. Reese exhaled slowly. The thing was running on fragmented programming. It was aware but adrift. He took a gamble, Titan. The ship's core pulsed, as if reacting to the name. The war over, Reese said carefully. You don't have to fight anymore. A long, heavy silence followed. Then, in a softer tone, almost like uncertainty, the machine rumbled. The war is over. Reese nodded. A long time ago. The war machine's eye flickered, running silent data streams through its corrupted systems. Then something unexpected happened. The bright glow in its core dimmed slightly, like hesitation. Processing, no command authority detected. Directive priority recalibrating. Reese let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. If it was recalibrating, it wasn't about to go on a killing spree. He took a careful step closer. That's right, you don't have a mission anymore, you're free. Silence stretched between them. The scrapyard, once filled with the hum of dying machines, was now eerily still. Then, in a voice that sent a chill down Reese's spine, the war machine asked a question. Define free. Reese blinked. He hadn't expected that. The question, it wasn't just a request for information. It was existential. This wasn't just an AI following pre-programmed logic. It was something more. And for the first time, Reese realized he wasn't just dealing with a machine. He was dealing with something that could think. Something that had spent centuries as a weapon. And now, it was looking for a purpose. The ghosts of war. The scrapyard felt unnaturally silent. The Titan-class war machine loomed over Reese, its glowing core pulsing like a heartbeat, slow, uncertain. Define free. The words echoed in his mind. Reese could feel the weight of the question pressing against him like gravity. How the hell do you explain freedom to a machine built for war? He hesitated, choosing his words carefully. It means no one gives you orders, you make your own decisions. The Titan's core flickered, processing. Then came the real question. Then, what is my purpose? Reese exhaled, rubbing the back of his neck. That was the problem, wasn't it? The war machine wasn't malfunctioning, it was lost. For the first time in its existence, it had no directive, no battlefield to unleash its firepower upon. Before he could answer, movement flickered in the shadows. Reese's instincts screamed a warning. Not scavengers. The figures moving through the scrapyard weren't the usual junk rats looking to strip a ship for parts. These were professionals, quick, deliberate, their matte black armor designed to blend into deep space shadows. Reese clenched his jaw. Mercenaries. His earpiece crackled. Calder, Harlow's voice came in sharp and urgent. We've got company, get clear. One of the mercenaries stepped forward, a figure clad in combat armor that bore no insignia. Their voice was sharp, crackling over an external speaker. Step away from the Titan. Reese tilted his head. Ah, so they knew what it was, that meant trouble. The mercenary continued, their stance rigid with authority. This war machine is classified ascendancy property. It was never decommissioned. It remains under military jurisdiction. Reese let out a slow breath. Funny, I don't see any ascendancy insignias on you. The mercenary didn't flinch. This is not up for debate. They lifted their rifle slightly. Step away. The Titan's aperture snapped toward the mercenary. Its lights pulsed in a rhythmic sequence, scanning, processing. Threat detected. Oh, hell. Reese raised his hands. Titan, stand down, no hostilities. The war machine hesitated. The mercenary didn't. A sharp command into their comms, engage. Before Reese could react, a stun round slammed into his chest. Electricity coursed through him. His vision blurred as he hit the ground, muscles locking up in agonizing spasms. The scrapyard tilted sideways. Through the haze, he saw something that made his blood run cold. The Titan roared. not in sound but in energy. Its core flared, a surge of ancient power crackling across its hull. Attack on command authority detected. Oh no! Reese struggled to move, but his limbs wouldn't obey. The Titan's systems shifted. Deep within its corrupted databanks, buried instincts awoke, memories of war, of battlefields soaked in fire and ruin. It was slipping back into what it once was. A weapon. And right now, echoes of war. Pain still crackled through Reese's nerves as he struggled to push himself up. His muscles twitched from the stun round, but his mind was sharp enough to recognize the situation spiraling out of control. The Titan was waking up the wrong way. Energy pulsed along its massive frame, a blue glow creeping through the cracks of its ancient plating like veins of fire. The air itself seemed to vibrate with restrained power, as if the war machine were standing on the edge of a decision, one that could end in devastation. Attack on command authority detected. The Titan's aperture locked onto the mercenaries. One of them barked an order, and in a single synchronized motion, their squad raised their weapons. Reese forced out a breath. Titan, no, stand down. The war machine hesitated. The glow of its core flickered erratically, as if fighting against its own corrupted programming. The lead mercenary wasn't waiting. Fire! Muzzle flashes lit up the scrapyard as the mercs unleashed a storm of plasma rounds toward the Titan. The energy projectiles slammed against its hull, splattering harmlessly like raindrops against steel. The war machine didn't even flinch. But it reacted. A deep, earth-shaking hum pulsed from its core. The Titan's massive form shifted, gears grinding, plates unfolding. A defensive field flared to life around it, an ancient energy barrier crackling with forgotten technology. Reese's heart pounded. If the Titan went full combat mode, the entire scrapyard was about to be turned into a crater. He forced himself to his feet, pushing past the lingering numbness. Titan, stop. Again it hesitated, its aperture swiveled toward him. Command override processing. The mercenaries weren't hesitating. One of them unhooked a compact rocket launcher, arming it in seconds. Reese's instincts screamed. If that thing fired, the Titan would retaliate. And if the Titan retaliated, nothing would survive. There was only one option. Reese ran straight for the Titan. He could feel the heat of the charged weapons behind him, the mercs caught off guard by his sudden movement. But it didn't matter. Reese slammed his palm against the Titan's hull. Titan, listen to me. I am your commander. Stand down. Silence. Then a single pulse. A deep, resonating thrum rippled through the Titan's systems. The energy field vanished. The aperture flickered, its glow dimming. Acknowledged. Reese exhaled sharply, barely believing it worked. Then boom! The rocket launcher fired. A streak of orange fire hurtled through the scrapyard, heading straight for the Titan's vulnerable plating. Too late to dodge. Reese barely had time to react before a massive metal hand, not his own, snatched him off the ground. The Titan moved. With impossible speed for something so massive, the war machine spun, shielding itself and Reese from the incoming blast. The rocket slammed against its shoulder plating, exploding in a violent burst of flame and debris. The force of the impact sent a shockwave tearing through the scrapyard, metal shards raining in every direction. For a brief moment, there was only silence and the faint crackle of dying flames. Then the Titan spoke. Commander, status confirmed. Reese barely had time to register the words before the Titan turned its attention back to the mercenaries. The mercs, finally realizing what they were up against, did the only logical thing left. They ran. But the Titan was watching. Commander, it turned its massive eye back to Reese, its voice colder now. Do I eliminate hostiles? Reese swallowed. He had to choose right now what kind of leader he was going to be. A single word could turn the Titan into a weapon of vengeance. Or something else entirely. His fingers curled into a fist, his breath steadied. And then he made his choice. A new directive. The Titan's glowing aperture remained locked on Reese, waiting for his command. The massive war machine stood poised, weapons systems primed, energy still crackling through its frame. Do I eliminate hostiles? The words echoed in the scrapyard's silence. The few remaining scavengers had already vanished, sensing that something far bigger than a salvage job was unfolding. The mercenaries, now retreating into the shadows, weren't out of danger yet. All it would take was one word. Reese exhaled slowly, forcing himself to push down the rush of adrenaline. No, he wasn't going to be that kind of leader. "Stand down, Titan," he said, his voice firm. "Let them go." The war machine hesitated, processing. Its core pulsed, systems recalibrating. Then, the energy around its frame dimmed. The air pressure shifted as the sheer force of the Titan's power pulled back, stabilizing. Acknowledged, hostiles neutralized by non-lethal action. Reese let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. Behind him, the mercenaries took the opportunity to disappear into the wreckage, vanishing like ghosts into the night. But this wasn't over. They knew what the Titan was now, and they weren't going to just let him walk away with it. He turned back toward the war machine. It was waiting for him. Not as a weapon, not as a tool, but as something else. Reese took a step forward, placing a hand on the Titan's hull. The metal was warm, humming beneath his fingertips, alive in a way no ship ever should have been. "You asked me about purpose," he murmured, "about being free." The Titan's aperture flickered, listening. Reese glanced around at the scrapyard, the ruins of 1,000 forgotten battles, rusting under the weight of history. The galaxy was full of war machines, of old soldiers with nowhere to go. The Titan had been built for destruction, programmed for battle. But maybe it could be something else. "Your purpose is your choice now." He met the Titan's unblinking eye. "No war, no orders, just whatever you decide to be." A long silence stretched between them. Then slowly the Titan's massive form shifted. Its plating settled, energy stabilizing into something calmer. For the first time, the war machine wasn't preparing for battle. It was simply existing. A quiet hum reverberated through its systems. "Understood." Reese smirked. "Good, then let's get out of here before those guys come back with reinforcements." The Titan paused, then spoke again. "Commander, where do we go?" Reese took one last look at the scrapyard, the place where everything had changed, where an ancient war machine had woken up and made a choice. He stepped back toward the Titan, a grin tugging at the corner of his mouth. "Anywhere we want." And with that, the Titan rose. Metal groaned as long-dormant thrusters roared back to life. The ground trembled beneath them as the war machine took its first steps forward, not as a weapon, but as something new. Something free. The galaxy had just gained its strangest wildcard yet. And Reese. He had just made the most dangerous friend in the universe.